All right, let's get started. Welcome, everybody. My name is Rafi Shulman. I'm the co-founder of Olim Advisors. It's great to have you here with us tonight. I'd like to just take a moment and thank all the other moderators who are joining me. And I want to let you know that we don't just invite anybody to join the presentations. We very carefully choose the companies and the individuals that we work with to make sure really that you're taken care of. So if you decide to work with any of the individuals who are going to be presenting tonight, then just know that you're in good hands. Just a few quick things to keep in mind. First of all, go ahead and type your questions into the chat window, and we'll get to them when we get to the Q&A session at the end. Just recognize we're not going to be able to get to everybody's questions. So if we aren't able to get to your questions, if we can't get into all the details that you'd like for us to go into, then just reach out to us and we'll reach out to you. And really, let's try and have a one-on-one conversation so that we can really understand your questions, your concerns, and what you're trying to accomplish. In addition, we're also going to be recording it. So if you've come late or you have to leave early, don't worry about it. We're going to send out an email within the next couple of days to everyone who registered so that you can watch it at your convenience. Also know that you can share it with other people. I know there are a lot of people that weren't able to join us tonight. So if you know of anybody who's interested in making Aliyah or buying a home in Israel, please feel free to share it with them. And the last thing is we will have our contact information throughout the presentation and also a slide at the end of the webinar so that you can reach out to us and also so we can reach out to you. And like I said before, have these one-on-one conversations to really figure out how we can help you.
Just to interrupt, Rafi, I'm sorry, Donnie's in Hebrew. It's the last one, Donnie.
Okay.
Donnie, we're in Israel. All the way at the end, the last one.
Okay, here he is. Okay. Oops. Is Donnie on? Just waiting for one of the presenters. Sorry, is he here? Oh, there you go. Hey, Donnie. Welcome. Better late than never, as they say. Good to have you here. So I just want to take a moment and just talk about Olim Advisors and why we're doing this, and then we'll get started with the presentation. So we started Olim Advisors back in 2016 with really two goals in mind. The first goal was to encourage and to help people make Aliyah, dealing with all the big decisions beforehand, like finding a community, finding schools, finding a home. And then when people get here, really to help them acclimate, to deal with the bigger challenges like bureaucracy, opening up a bank account and things like that, as well as the ongoing challenges that people have to deal with on a regular basis. Now, one of the big challenges, as we all know, is buying a home, whether it's buying a home in the States, UK, South Africa, Australia, or Israel. It's a big investment, it's a big decision. And so what we wanted to do is we wanted to really do two things: guide people and help people make Aliyah, and then at the same time also help people buy a home in Israel, whether it's people who are making Aliyah now, people who are making Aliyah in the future, or people who just want to have a home in Israel so that they can come back and forth. And so we've really, came here together to provide you with good information, guidance, and hopefully we can help you accomplish your dream. So having said that, let's get started. So I want to just share with you a quick story about the picture here. In the middle there, you'll see a woman who has red hair, and she's actually one of our advisors. Her name is Risa, and she, a few months ago, helped her parents make Aliyah from Teaneck at the age of 101 and 97, which is just mind-boggling when you think about it. And the message behind this is really pretty simple and pretty powerful. If they can make Aliyah at that age, you can as well. It's not going to necessarily be easy, and you definitely need to do planning, but it's definitely doable. So let's spend a few minutes and talk about some of the challenges and some of the things that you can do to help you plan a successful Aliyah. So first, really focusing on the older age bracket, people who are approaching retirement or have retired already. There are two main challenges and concerns that a lot of people who fall into this group have. The first one is financial. So really worrying about the cost of living in Israel, worrying about what you should do about investments, and really wanting to make sure that when you move to Israel, when you make Aliyah to Israel, that you can live the lifestyle that you want to. And so that's a big concern, a big challenge that people deal with. The second one is healthcare, making sure that you have the right insurance coverage, making sure that you have the right medication, really making sure that, God forbid, you need some medical attention in Israel, that you know who to turn to. And so I just wanted to share with you a few tips, a few pieces of advice, things that you can keep in mind. So first of all, going back to the financial concerns, the first thing I strongly encourage you to do is put together a budget. It doesn't have to be something to the exact dollar or exact shekel, but more of a rough calculation of what your expenses will be, what your income will be. And if you want, Nefesh B'Nefesh has put together some great sample budgets that I'm happy to send you a link to. So if you want to have access to this, just send me an email at the end of the presentation and I'll share the link with you. If you feel or if you see that the budget doesn't quite work out, one thing that you can do is lower expenses. And there's a lot of ways to do that, but really think about your lifestyle. For example, maybe you don't need to buy a car. Maybe you can use public transportation. Maybe you don't have to go out, once a week to a fancy restaurant. There are a lot of local places, or you can just stay home and cook. There's a lot of ways to reduce your expenses, especially for seniors. The government does a lot to help you lower your expenses, and that's something that you should definitely look at. And then, of course, there's the big decision of buying versus renting. As you know, it really has a huge impact on your budget. If you're going to buy, you have to have a very large amount of money to put down as a down deposit, and then, of course, your ongoing mortgage payments. If you're going to rent, then you don't have the down payment, but then you have your rent payments that you have to make. So that's something that really can have a big impact on your budget. And then the last thing is, look to supplement your income. A lot of people come to Israel in their 50s and 60s, and they have a wealth of experience, and a lot of companies are looking for these types of individuals. So there's opportunities to consult or to be an advisor or to work part-time, and really it can really help you with your budget, and also create a much more fulfilling and rewarding lifestyle and keep you busy. So those are just a few things that you can do, a few things that you should keep in mind with regards to your finances. The second thing is when it comes to healthcare. So one thing that you should do is, one thing that you should be aware of is that there are 4 main HMOs, or they call them Kupat Cholim, in Israel. And they're all pretty much cover or provide the same coverage. So what you really want to look at is a few things to help you decide which one to pick. So the first one is you want to look at where you're living, where you're moving to. So if you're moving to Modi'in or Jerusalem or Tel Aviv or Raanana, you want to make sure that the HMO, the Kupa, has adequate coverage, adequate doctors in the language that you speak, whether it's English or another language. You want to make sure that you have coverage. The other thing is, if you need specialized care, if you need a specialty doctor, a lot of the doctors only belong to one HMO, one Kupa. So maybe what you want to do is first find those doctors, get recommendations, whether it's from doctors in the US or from wherever you're coming from, or people living in Israel. Then reach out to those doctors and find out which HMO, which Kupa they belong to, and then join that. And then the last suggestion, the last advice that I have, once you get to Israel, make appointments in advance. It takes a long time to make appointments with a lot of the doctors, and so you don't want to, God forbid, wait until there's an urgent situation. So plan ahead, make appointments, and that way you will stay on top of your health situation. Now, when we look at the kind of other end of the spectrum, where people that are coming, or parents who are coming with children, and so there's a few things to keep in mind and a few points of advice that I'd like to share with you. First of all, if you go back a few years ago, people would say that if your kids are older than about 10, 11 years old, then it's just too difficult to make Aliyah, and they just did not come. That's changed quite dramatically now, and we're seeing a lot more families coming with kids who are 12, 13, 15. There are a lot more resources, a lot more schools that are equipped to deal with older kids. And so if you have children who are older, don't automatically rule out Aliyah. It's definitely a possibility. You just need to make sure you do the research, and you need to make sure that you find the right support, the right schooling for your kids. The other thing is, learn Hebrew, and I can't stress this enough. And this doesn't mean that you have to become fluent in Hebrew, but really try and get a basic understanding of it. So when you get here, you can understand what people are saying. You can, speak a basic Hebrew, and that will really help you get through the day. And there's a lot of ways to do that. There are online programs, and there's a lot of free options. You can go into YouTube and watch a lot of TV shows and movies. You can go onto the different news websites and really practice your Hebrew. And I would recommend that you do this for the parents and for the kids. It really will make a big difference when you get to Israel. The other thing is that you need to have a realistic expectations about schools. And what I mean by that is that schools in Israel are run very differently, especially if you're used to private schools. The schools here are just done differently, but that doesn't mean that they're not good. And as you know, and as we've seen, kids go through elementary school, middle school, high school, and then many of them continue to the army. And a lot of the Israelis do very well once they're done army, university. And so don't worry about it. Just have realistic expectations. Just know that schools are run differently here. And the last piece of advice is be an advocate for your kids. When your kids are in school, recognize that the classes are typically bigger. So that means you need to be in touch with the teacher, with the principal, with the guidance counselors, and really advocate for your kids to make sure that they're getting the support that they need. And that doesn't mean that you should be pushy, but just be active. If you do it in the right way, then you will find that the kids will get the support that they deserve. You will be happy and they'll be happy. So just a few things to think about. And I just wanted to quickly share with you that we have a lot of support groups. We have a Facebook group that I encourage you to join. We have a WhatsApp group that I encourage you and invite you to join. And then we have different tips for Olim and for Anglos, for both Aliyah and for real estate. So there's a lot of support, a lot of information. Of course, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Donnie Fine. Donnie's the real estate agent that we've partnered with in Ramat Beit Shemesh. And so Donnie's going to take it over now and talk to you a little bit about the real estate and about Ramat Beit Shemesh specifically. Donnie, it's all yours.
Thank you, Rafi, and thank you for Rafi and Larry for putting this together. Olim Advisors is definitely a recommended resource when making Aliyah at any stage. So I guess we'll just, in order to save time, we'll just jump right into it. I'm here representing Ramat Beit Shemesh, and my company's name is Elite Israel Realty. Me and my partner Rob Ernst have put together a partnership here that we work closely with Anglo buyers from the US, from Australia, from the UK, really just focusing on the buyer side of buying here in Ramat Beit Shemesh and Beit Shemesh as a whole. I just want to literally take 30 seconds just to give a brief overview of some benefits and pluses of living in Ramat Beit Shemesh that I don't think we went over in the slides. If you guys don't know where or what Ramat Beit Shemesh is, we're about a 35-minute drive to Jerusalem, 45-minute ride to Tel Aviv. There's incredible selection of schools for all different ages, all different hashkafas here in Ramat Beit Shemesh and Beit Shemesh. There's a large Anglo community, probably one of the largest Anglo communities in the country. We're surrounded by beautiful mountains, tons of mountain biking and trails and hiking trails that are around here, and most of all, it's relatively affordable, if you could still say that at all in Israel. So those are some benefits of Ramat Beit Shemesh. So I'll just jump into the do's and don'ts of buying and renting a home here in Israel. In general, and I'm sure other realtors will discuss this as well, buying a home here in Israel is very different than buying in the US or renting in the US. You can't expect a bumpy ride, not because anybody's actually trying to make it bumpy, just because it's very different than what you're expecting. I'm actually dealing right now with helping a title insurance title lawyer in the States buy an apartment here, and he's blown away. He thought he knew everything about real estate, and then he comes to Israel to buy an apartment, and it's just a different game. But that being said, he saw a place. We showed him a few apartments the other day, and he immediately took action. He was able to make a decision very quickly on something that he wanted, made an offer. We have an accepted offer, and now we're in contract. So you really got to move pretty quickly, because things, I don't want to say they fly off the shelf, but apartments, homes, especially, the nicer ones, really don't sit here in Ramat Beit Shemesh. It's very important to speak with the right professionals. I may be a realtor, you may want to work with me. There are lots of other realtors, but one of the benefits of working with me and myself and my company is we built a team of mortgage brokers, of lawyers, money changers. These are all really important factors when buying a home here in Israel. Also, like I said before, buying in Israel is really different than buying in America. In America, there's tons of choices everywhere you go. There's lots of different communities, and you could really kind of wait till you find the perfect home. Over here, because it's just so different. I almost want to say it's not perfect until you move into the apartment, until you move into the home. People just learn to you learn to live in what you've chosen, and that becomes your home, and you turn it into perfection, and that's for you. And just lastly, in terms of pricing, especially now, everybody now is addressing the issue of prices. Are they going to fall? Are we going to have a crash? This and that. As realtors, and I think all the other realtors in this panel will agree with me that we don't really see that. Yes, the prices have dropped a little bit, but we're not going to see them fall. There's no, as I always tell clients, there's no steals and there's no deals here in Israel. You could wait for them, but then you're going to be waiting till Mashiach comes. It's just not going to happen. As soon as the interest rates go up, as soon as the interest rates are high now, so the prices came down a little bit, but as soon as interest rates go down, the price is just going to go up again. So now is a pretty good time to buy as well. So in terms of what's the current state of the real estate of RBS and Israel in general, I guess I was just getting to that. What's happened over the last 10 years? Well, the last 10 years, well, there's two parts of 10 years. There's up until a couple of years ago, and then there's before that. I'll give an example personally of myself. I made Aliyah 14 years ago. 16 years ago, I came on a pilot trip, and we saw a house that would have been perfect for my family, but we didn't buy it. It was 1 million shekels. 16 years later, that same house is now selling for 6 million shekel. So historically, the prices in Israel just don't go down. They may drop a little bit, but then they go up. They make up for that loss. So what's happened over the last 10 years, the prices have gone up, and we expect them to continue going up. Current market conditions and where we think it's headed. Like I said, we think the prices right now for the near future, they're stable. The market has calmed down a bit, but we do think that the prices will continue to rise, not as rapid as the pace as they did over the last few years, 2 or 3 years. But the whole world was crazy back then, and now we're getting back to normal. But the prices will still be increasing, and the buying process. I could literally sit here for days talking to you about the buying process. It starts with talking to a realtor. I always tell people the last thing I say when I get off the phone with them is now call the mortgage broker, because the mortgage broker will really help you get your financing in order in terms of finding out what you can buy. I've found many cases where a client will call a mortgage broker. They think their budget is I don't know, X, and then they call the mortgage broker and they talk about the finances, seeing all the options, and they can really and they can afford more. Sometimes they can afford less, but sometimes they can afford more than they thought they could. It's a lot of people are scared to buy in Israel, so they hold themselves back a little bit. But the mortgage broker, a good mortgage broker, will walk you through the process. Then you have a lawyer involved in the process, and they're really there to protect you, to make sure that everything is straight in the contract, and what you're buying and what you're not getting and what you're paying, and they set up the payment terms. So you have the realtor, you have the mortgage broker, you have the lawyer, and then you have the money changer. The realtor, once all those guys are in effect, then the realtor really is just the glue that keeps everybody together through the process of the deal. And you should always be asking your realtor any questions that you have at any time in the process. All right. So now, in Ramat Shemesh, there's tons of building here, as there is all over the country. Sitting here in my home, I'm looking out my window. I'm literally seeing about 50 cranes right outside my window. There's tons of building, and so people are always asking, why would I buy in a new project, or should I buy secondhand, or should I buy secondhand versus new project? What are the advantages and disadvantages? Again, I can go on forever, but in order to save time, I'll just give you a couple of key points. When you're buying secondhand, you know that the place is built. You can get an engineer in there to look at the property that you want to buy, so you'll know all the issues going in there. It's kind of like you're buying something, it's turnkey. You drop your bags, and everything's ready. You might want to do some renovations, but it's already built. Sometimes there's less headaches than buying something on paper. Versus a new project. You're going to go in there and you have to negotiate with the developer, and then it gets to the payment terms, and then there's the picking out the kitchen and the tiles and the bathroom and designing the place. These are all especially buying from abroad, which is really what a lot of my clients are. We deal with that a lot, and it becomes a little bit of a headache. I think we've done this enough times that we've narrowed down the process significantly. But there's advantages and disadvantages to both, and it depends on your financing also. New project may have more favorable payment terms. We could prolong the payment process versus a second-hand home. It might be a shorter payment process. So that's there's so much more to talk about, but I'll just stop there. In terms of the purchase process, like we discussed before, it starts with talking to your realtor, and then the mortgage broker, and then the lawyer, and there's a whole process. They're very different than what you're typically used to in the U.S. And again, current prices, they're not cheap, but you could still get some really nice properties for pretty affordable prices.
I think, Johnny, just to jump in with a new project, sometimes if you're buying on paper, there's some advantages there, right? You can get a discount, which some people take advantage of.
Yeah. If you buy, definitely if you're buying on pre-construction or new projects, for example, there's one developer now where they're offering, if you give them 40% upfront of the purchase price, they'll give you just straight off the bat 75,000 shekels off the purchase price. So that's a nice discount that Halavai should be able to negotiate 75,000 shekels off a secondhand home.
Right. Okay.
All right, so now we'll just jump into a couple of properties that are available currently on the market. Neve Shamir is another name for Neve Shamir, is Ramat Shemesh Hey. Which is a stone's throw away from Ramat Shemesh Aleph. Over here you have a gorgeous, I was actually in it the other day. It's really stunning. A 5-bedroom, 2.5 bathroom penthouse on the 7th floor. It's 145 meters, which is very respectable for a penthouse. This particular one, the owners, they're moving back to the States, so they're selling the apartment fully furnished, and it's the furniture itself is worth a pretty penny. They put a lot of money into this place. It's really gorgeous furniture. This would be great as something to live in. You could actually expand the apartment a little bit, but it would also be great, in my opinion, as an Airbnb. As many may or may not know, there's really no hotels in Ramat Shemesh or Beit Shemesh. So a lot of apartments, they're purchased as investments in Airbnbs. And so this is a gorgeous apartment. The kitchen, see a picture of the kitchen over there. It's really a nice upgraded kitchen. The apartment, like most apartments that you buy pre-construction, come with a machzan. They come with a parking spot. Sometimes the parking is covered. The asking price on this is 4.3 million shekel, which is a very reasonable price, especially considering the fact that it's a furnished place. The project itself, it's called Ir David, and it's a really nice project that people moved into about 2 years ago, and they're very happy. They're very, very eclectic neighborhood, all spectrums of religiosity. And Neve Shamir is a really up and coming area. They plan to have a country club with a swimming pool and tennis courts over there. And there's a tremendous park that goes through Ramat Shemesh Aleph all the way through Neve Shamir. It's about the size of a few football fields or soccer fields, as you will. It's a really great area to live, and people are very happy there. Then you have this is another apartment in the same area, Neve Shamir. It's also 4 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms. This one's a little bit smaller, but this one is also it's upgraded. What you want to look for, these are all secondhand apartments, but they were, the people who live in this apartment are living there for just about a year. They chose to relocate. This one has a great view off of that balcony. You can have a nice sukkah balcony over there. And it's on a low floor, so it's really nice. If you have little kids, you don't want it to be on such a high floor. You have a nice 27 square meter balcony, which I think anywhere, obviously they have apartments with much larger balconies, but this is considered very respectable. And also, again, this one comes with parking. This one is significantly less at 3 million shekel.
And just to explain to everybody, if you want to convert square meters to square feet, add a 0 at the end, and I'll give you a rough estimate. So this is about 1,300 square feet and about 270 square feet balcony.
Yep, that's a good trick. So now here, this is actually a house for sale that just went on the market. We got this as an exclusive property, which we're very, very proud of. This is where both me and my partner live in at the end of that street. In that picture is actually my partner's house, which is about 100 meters from my house. It's called Mem Shalosh, which is a pocket of Ramat Shemesh Aleph. It's probably one of the most sought after areas in Ramat Shemesh Aleph. It's probably about as a whole 5 to 6 years old. So all the houses are relatively new, and you can get a nice sized cottage or semi-attached house here for reasonably affordable price. So this particular home that we're offering, it's like I said, it's semi-attached. The owner did do some upgrades, so there is some extra meterage, but we're starting at it's 210 plus meters. We haven't had it measured exactly yet, but there's a private entrance. It's an incredible neighborhood, lots of kids. Very upscale neighborhood. This particular unit has 5 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. It has 4 floors. You have a basement, and then you have an attic, which in this particular house is semi finished. It still has some potential of what you can do to the house to really finish it up to your specific modifications. And this one's priced very reasonably at 5.6 million shekel.
Great. Thanks very much, Donnie. I know that you had to head out, so thanks for joining us. And to everybody who's watching the webinar, again, we'll include the Donnie's contact information at the end as well. And I just encourage you to reach out to him if you have any questions or if you're interested in any of the properties. He'll be happy to help you. Thanks, Donnie. Okay.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me.
Now we're moving on to Ariyel. You're up next.
Hi. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Jerusalem. So let's start with some Jerusalem real estate trends. So Jerusalem is a very popular city, very high growth rate, meaning there are more people coming in Aliyah to Jerusalem or being born than people leaving Jerusalem or dying. And therefore, we have a very big shortage of properties. There is not enough new developments. And there isn't any new land in Jerusalem, only urban renewals. So the shortage is growing and the prices are rising and the solution is not in sight. So some statistics. In 2022, the average apartment in Jerusalem, the prices ranged by 22%. I'm sorry that the graphics got messed up here a little bit with the numbers. Jerusalem went up by 22% as opposed to 8.5% average in Israel. In 2023, we have a 3.1% increase in Jerusalem, as opposed to only 0.5% average in the whole country. Transaction numbers. So in quarter 1, 2023, we have a 60% decrease in the amount of transactions. However, there has been no decrease and actually a small increase in the price. April, May, the prices have, the amount of transactions have sped up. And so it looks like we're headed for another increase in the prices in Jerusalem. So is now a good time to buy? So let's first talk about some reasons to wait. Donnie spoke about it a moment ago about the higher mortgage rates in Israel today, higher than in the past. And there's a political or security instability. So that might be some reasons to wait. However, some reasons to buy. Prices will go up. The prices have never stopped in Jerusalem. They've never gone down. They always go up. The shekel might get stronger as opposed to the currency of where you're coming from. And the property shortage in Israel is getting worse, not better. So our conclusion and our recommendation is if you're going to buy, there's more reward than risk, and so buy now. It's always better to buy now than later. Do I need to be in Israel to buy property? So the answer to that is yes and no. You do need to be in Israel to sign a contract. Either be here physically or have a lawyer with a general power of attorney to sign on your behalf. However, you don't need to be in Israel to start looking at properties. All of our listings have virtual tours on our website, which allows you to walk through the property from the comfort of your home. You can see the property for all angles. You can walk around. You can even measure it and see if your bed's fitting. Okay, so what's my first step if you're thinking about moving? We live in an era of too much information, not too little. So there are actually more than 3,300 apartments for sale secondhand in Jerusalem today, and that's a very small number compared to the demand. So each of our now 40 agents specialize in a focused area of Jerusalem, and our collective knowledge allows you to give our clients expert insight into every area of the city. Almost all of our Anglos are Anglo Olim or second generation Olim. So we understand where you're coming from. We have a vast experience in helping people make an Aliyah. If you go to our website at remaxjerusalem.com, look at our team, and you are likely to already know someone on our team.
And I just want to jump in here for a second and just stress the importance of working with an agent or working with a realty that is so connected, like Ariyel was mentioning, because in Israel, there's no central listing. In Jerusalem, there's kind of a quasi one, but in Israel in general, there isn't one central listing like Zillow or like, the MLS system in the States. And so working with an agency like Ariel's agency that has a large team that really knows the neighborhoods, and especially Jerusalem, there's so many different neighborhoods and different, areas. It really is important that you work with a real estate agency that is connected and can guide you between the different communities and different neighborhoods.
So thank you, Rafi. So actually, there is a semi, as you said, a semi MLS in Jerusalem. The reason it's semi is because it's opt-in.
Right.
You don't have to publicize your properties, but we do. As the biggest office in Jerusalem today, we have access to every single property in the city through the MLS. Okay, so where in Jerusalem? Where would you like to move to? And that really depends on you. What's important to you? Are you looking for new build or classic Jerusalem? Which community do you want to belong to? Do you have any friends or family that you want to be close to? Will you have a car, or do you want to use public transportation? Are you buying to visit? Come on Aliyah now, or are you looking to come on Aliyah in the next 5 years? That really changes where I would advise that you buy. We work in all the areas of Jerusalem, and there's some developing areas. There are areas today in Jerusalem that are relatively cheap, but that we can see 5-6 years down the line how the prices are going to catch up to the rest of the city. And so if you're looking to buy now, it's a completely different question to if you're contemplating coming in Aliyah in 4, 5, 6 years. Contact one of the agents, and we can recommend based on your date of Aliyah where you should be buying. Okay, so I'm going to show you a couple of listings in different areas of Jerusalem. Again, there's thousands and thousands of listings, and there's hundreds of listings on our website, but I do want to give you some sort of an idea of pricing. So let's start with Baka. Baka is a very Anglo neighborhood, very close to the center, just off of Emek Rafaim. Here is a 4-room. So in Israel, a 4-room means 3 bedrooms, 100 square meter, which is 1,000 square feet, 2 bathrooms, completely renovated, Shabbos elevator, next to Bustan Baka, which is very Anglo project. And this is selling at just under $1 million. So can you buy property in Jerusalem? The answer is yes. Probably a new development like this would cost double, but in an old building, a renovated apartment with all the amenities, you can get something at under $1 million. So that's one opportunity in Baka. How about Talbia? So the property is actually a hybrid. It's one of my favorite kinds of investments. This is an old building right across the street from the president's house, with a balcony actually looking over president's residence. It's 75 square meters today. It's a 3-bedroom, and it's undergoing Tama. You can look at the plan at the bottom. You see the apartment is marked in yellow, and the pink areas are what are going to be added to the apartment. So currently it's 75 square meters. Within 3 or 4 years, it will become 100 square meters. 2 bathrooms will become 3 bathrooms. Selling today at 4.5 million shekels, which is approximately $1.25 million. It's a really good investment opportunity because you're buying old, but 3 to 4 years down the line, you'll end up with a brand new apartment in a new development in probably one of the most expensive areas in the city. And last, if you need something a bit bigger, we're going to go a bit further out. This is in Armon Hatziv, one of the eastern neighborhoods in Jerusalem. It's not far from the center. It's about a 10-minute drive from Emek Rafaim or the city center, but it's not walking distance, say, from the center of the city. We've got 5 rooms, which is 4 bedrooms. It's 150 square meters built, a private garden, both in the front and the back, private parking. It's a private detached home, so it's got wraparounds. And this is at just under 4.5 million shekels, which is again about a $1.25 million. So you can actually buy a family home for your whole family within Jerusalem in a good neighborhood. You can see that it's in a good situation for just $1.25 million. Really, the way we work in Remax Jerusalem, we've got a very big team of agents. And we want to get to know you. We want to understand your needs and your preferences. And once we have a better understanding of what you're looking for, we'll find the property for you and not just try and sell you one of our current listings. We invite you to visit our website or walk into our office at 55 Emek Rafaim in Jerusalem, and one of our agents will be happy to help you. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Ariyel, and say hi to Alon.
Alon's right here.
Okay. Dion, you're up. Talking about Netanya. So Dion's one of the realtors we work with. Dion's actually lives in Raanana, but covers a number of different areas. And so he's going to be talking about a number of them, starting with Netanya.
Okay, thank you very much, Rafi. Good evening, everybody. Just to reiterate what Ari just mentioned now, in order for us to present you with opportunities and to better understand what you're looking for, we do need to open up a dialogue. So I would seriously encourage everybody to shoot an email out to the realtors within the respective areas that you're interested in. And then once we understand exactly what you're looking for, we can then send you more detailed information that's applicable to your needs. What I've decided to do is, in the 3 areas that I'm going to be presenting today, is just to give you an idea of a property off plan, a second-hand property that you can basically move in tomorrow, and in an older apartment that needs to be renovated, so that you can just get a general idea of the pricing involved in these areas. So in Netanya, this is Osishkin Street. It's a new project that's currently being built. It's not a Tama 1 project. The building was destroyed and they're building from scratch. This particular project offers 4 to 6 roomed apartments, which is 3 to 5 bedrooms. In square feet, you're looking at between 1,000 square feet to 1,600 square feet. Balcony sizes around about 120 to 800 square feet. There are 2 buildings. Each one has got an elevator. There is underground parking. Every single unit has got a master bedroom. Some of the apartments on the upper floors, the penthouses, have got private swimming pools on the balconies as well. And every apartment comes with a storage room. Price ranges here, you're looking at 3 million odd shekels for the 4-room apartments, going up to the penthouses at the top, the apartments with the swimming pools, where you're looking at roughly 8.5 million shekels. This is first line to the sea. Every single apartment has got a view of the sea. And if you're walking from the apartment to the beach, it's a 5-minute walk. So this is a nice opportunity. If you're looking at a time span of 3 to 5 years down the line, when you would require the apartment, then this is something that could be what you're looking for. So that's option number 1. Here we have an apartment that is fully renovated. It is a 4.5-room apartment. In other words, 3.5 bedrooms, roughly 1,000 square feet, 90 square foot balcony. Again, it has an elevator, a private parking space. This is an outdoor parking space, not covered. This particular apartment is situated on the 2nd floor. It also has a master bedroom, as I mentioned. It is renovated and it is being sold fully furnished. What you see in the pictures is basically what you're going to be getting. You also have direct views of the ocean. So from 3 of the rooms, you have a view of the ocean. The balcony itself does face a private garden. This particular apartment is on the market for $3,180,000. I think that will roughly work out to about $850,000. So this is another option for somebody who's looking for turnkey, bring my suitcases and move in. This is a fantastic opportunity. And over here, we have an apartment in the Brigger Towers. This is a 4-room apartment, currently 3 bedrooms. It used to be 5 rooms, 4 bedrooms, but the owners decided to take down one of the bedrooms to increase the living room area. The apartment size is roughly 1,600 square feet with a huge balcony, 250 square feet. There are 2 elevators in this building. One of them works as a Shabbat elevator as well. There are 2 parking spaces outdoor. There are underground parking spaces as well, but this particular apartment has got 2 external parking spaces. 8th floor with a huge master bedroom, fully renovated and fully furnished. The building itself has got a swimming pool, a gym, and a synagogue, a Beit Knesset. So if you're looking at buying an investment apartment, this is a fantastic opportunity. A vacation apartment, this is a fantastic opportunity because everything is in-house. This particular apartment is on the market for 6.9 million shekels. And from every single room in this building, you have a direct view of the sea as well. So this is the upper end of apartments in Netanya, and you're looking at around about the 7 million shekel mark for this. So this just gives you 3 opportunities, ideas of what you can get, ranging from 3 million to roughly 8.5 million shekels.
Great, thank you, Dion, and we'll come back to you in a moment
My
to
pleasure.
talk about Raanana and Tel Aviv. I'm going to talk about Nahariya and specifically the beautiful Achziv community. I just want to mention that I'm going to focus on this community, but there's a tremendous amount of construction, new buildings going up in Nahariya. So if you're interested in Nahariya proper, then let me know. We work with an excellent real estate agency in Nahariya and a wonderful agent there, and I'd be happy to put you in touch with them. So what makes Achziv special? So there's a few things. First of all, it's a beautiful community by a beautiful beach. And what's unique about it is that the whole development is being built by 2 companies with one vision, one architect. And so it's not like a jigsaw puzzle where you have buildings that are popping up that look differently. This is all comes together in a very beautiful kind of vision. It's 3 to 4 minute walk from the beach. So literally you come out of the building, you walk a few minutes and you're at a spectacular beach. As many of you know, Achziv has been recognized as one of the most beautiful beaches in Israel. In fact, back in the 60s and 70s, there was a Club Med there. So it's really a unique opportunity to buy an apartment in a new community that was started being built about 6-7 years ago, and now they're on the 3rd phase. And really, I guess one of the most important and unique aspects of it is that you can buy a 3-bedroom or 4-room apartment for as low as 2 million shekel. And I don't know a lot of communities, in a lot of new communities by the beach like this, for a price point like this. So it's just something that is very interesting, both as an investment as well as for people who want to go and live in a very relaxing place. In fact, our family bought an apartment there, a garden apartment, about 2 years ago, and we love it. It's like heaven on earth for us. We go there sometimes for Shabbat, we go there for a week, we go with the kids, and it's just so quiet, so peaceful there and beautiful. So where is Achziv? A lot of people know Nahariya and they say, oh, it's all the way up north, and it is up north, but it's not as far as you think. And just to give you an example, if you want to hop in a car from Tel Aviv and drive up to Nahariya to Achziv, it's anywhere from 1.5 hours to 2.5 hours, of course, depending on the traffic, but definitely a manageable drive. You can hop on the train. Nahariya is on the train line, so you can go from Modi'in, from Netanya, from Tel Aviv to directly into Nahariya. From Modi'in, which is near where I live, it's about a 2.5 hour train ride to Nahariya. I can tell you, when I drive up from the Modi'in area to Nahariya to Achziv, it's about 1 hour and 45 minutes door to door, even in traffic. So it's really not that far. And then once you get to Nahariya, it's literally a 5-minute drive from there or a 15-minute bus ride. So, it is up north, but it's definitely accessible in a number of different ways. So this is an overview of the project, and you can see first of all it's beautiful. You can see the location, and what I want to point out is that green strip in between the buildings and the sea, and that's the Achziv Nature Preserve. And by law, it's legally protected, so no one can build in that area. No one can build closer to the sea, so it really gives you that access and the views. It's 16 acres, so it's really a nice big project. Initially, the main company, Electra, that we're dealing with was going to build 29 buildings, about 750 apartments. They've actually expanded that now to 37 buildings and about just under 1,000 apartments. The phase that they're now at is actually 6 buildings that they're building. There's 9 floors per building and 32 apartments per building. So there's a total of about 192 apartments that are being built as this phase. And I think there's about 45 or so, 45 to 50 apartments that are left for sale. One of the things that I really like about the way that Electra is building this development is they're learning from each phase. So when they finished the first and the second phase, they went back to the owners and asked them for the feedback. And they've literally made dozens and dozens of changes and enhancements to this current phase of the project that people who buy in can really benefit from. And you'll see here, it's really the building's comprised of 4 rooms and 5 rooms, or 3 bedrooms and 4 bedrooms. So the apartments that are facing, in other words, towards the front of the building, those are the 5-room apartments or the 4-bedroom apartments, and then the apartments on the wings and the sides are the 3 bedrooms or the 4-room apartments. Once you get to the second floor, every apartment has a view of the ocean. The ground floor and the first floor do not, because they're actually they're houses, they're villas that are being built. So that will block the view for the ground and for the first floor. But once you get up to the second floor and above, every apartment will have a view of the sea. Here's just another aerial view from a different perspective, and you can see the highlighted area there. Those are the 6 buildings that are being built. Currently, there are 16 buildings that have been built already. These will be the next 6, so you can see the 6 of them here. And I'll go into the timeline and prices in a moment. Here are just some renderings. You can see the really breathtaking view. You can see how spacious the apartments are, how much light comes into it. Really beautiful apartments. And the rendering in the bottom right corner is the garden apartment, similar to what we have. And you can see there's a lot of room for kids to play, for people to hang out. A lot of the garden apartments have been put in little pools in there. So really great spaces to enjoy, whether it's an investment property, a vacation home, or a permanent residence. This is just another picture of the community, and you can see what I was talking about before. Very, calm, very clean, very, green. Really a place that people enjoy living, and really a place to kind of relax and unwind. So in terms of timeline and costs, the 6 buildings are being broken down actually into 2 different clusters. The first 4 buildings are scheduled, or at least in the contract, were scheduled to be completed by April of 2025. They're actually ahead of schedule, and so the ETA for the first 4 buildings is the end of 2024. Buildings 5 and 6 were scheduled to be completed by December 2025. They also are a few months ahead of schedule, so most likely they'll be completed by the middle of 2025. In terms of prices, as I mentioned, and these are average prices. It depends on what floor and what building, but you can see the 3-bedroom apartments are selling now for an average of 2 million shekel. The 4-bedroom apartments are 2.5 million shekel. The 4-bedroom garden apartments, that's the one that we have, are selling for 2.7 million shekel. And then the penthouses, the 4-bedroom penthouses, are selling for 4.8 million shekel. And as was mentioned earlier with Donnie, one of the advantages of buying a new construction is that there's an opportunity here for a payment plan. So, Electra, the developer, has a number of payment plans where you can put down as little as 20% as a down payment, and then you can work out a payment plan to pay off the remainder, as the buildings are being built. If you want more information, there's a short video that they put together, and I have a marketing brochure. Just reach out to me. I'm happy to talk to you about it. I'm happy to answer your questions, and of course, we can schedule a call with the sales managers there, with the project manager, to get more information. Okay, Dion, I'm going to hand it back to you to talk about Tel Aviv.
Okay, thank you, Rafi. Tel Aviv. We all love Tel Aviv. I think the easiest way to explain Tel Aviv is when you're trying to factor in pricing for apartments in Tel Aviv, you really need to base your pricing schedule on a price per square meter. If you're looking at buying something that's a little bit older, apartments that need renovations, probably don't have elevators, most definitely will not have a parking, you could work on a base price of between 38,000 to 43,000 shekels per square meter. And then it becomes very easy to do the math. If it's a 60 square meter apartment, you multiply by 100 square meters, etc., etc. If you're looking for newer buildings, things that have got balconies, they have their elevators, some do, some don't have parking. I think the price range there, you'd pretty much go north of 38 to 40,000, 48 to 55,000 shekels per square meter. That would get you something that's a little bit more modern and a little bit newer. So going back to my previous examples that I gave, here we have a project in the old north of Tel Aviv, also roughly a 10-minute walk to the actual beach. This is a new project that's going up. We have two options here. They have garden apartments, which are 4 rooms, and regular apartments that are 4 rooms, so 3 bedrooms. If you're looking at the garden apartments, roughly 1,200 square feet, a 600 square foot garden, 2 elevators in the building. It has a parking space. And just to give you an idea of the value of parking spaces in Tel Aviv, currently people are selling their parking spots between 700,000 to $1 million shekels per parking spot. That's just how rare they are and how expensive they are. So this particular garden apartment is going for just under 7 million shekels. And this project will be ready in 2.5 to 3 years. If you are going for a 4-room apartment, in other words, no garden, slightly smaller, 1,100 square feet, 140 square foot balcony, and here you could get this for 6 million. Important to mention that because of the high interest rates currently in Israel, a lot of the developers are offering a 20/80 deal, which means you put 20% down when you sign the contract, and the remaining 80% is normally 30 to 45 days before you receive the key. So that gives you a little bit of leeway to start saving, to organize mortgages, etc., etc. So that's one location in Tel Aviv, buying off plan. Now, I wanted to show you this particular project. This is in Ramat Gan, which is in the car 3 minutes away from Tel Aviv. You cross over the 20 highway, and it's a 3-minute drive, and you're basically in the heart of Tel Aviv. The distance between the first project that I showed you and this project is roughly 15 minutes in the car. Same sized apartments, 3 bedrooms, roughly 1,000 square feet, 80 square meter balcony, also a new build, has an elevator, has a covered parking spot. But here you can see the difference in pricing. For 3.6 million shekels as opposed to 6 million shekels, once we understand your needs and exactly what you're looking for, moving 5 minutes outside of the Tel Aviv borders, you can actually pick up almost identical products for nearly half the price. So that's why I wanted to show you this particular project. And then the third and final project, this is one of my favorites. It's a new project that's being developed. It's called Park Tzafon. What they've done is they've taken, I think it's 250 acres of land, and they are developing residential units, and at the same time, they've earmarked 100 acres where they're putting in a park area, which is going to have children's facilities. There's going to be a small lake. They're going to have restaurants. There's going to be bicycle trails, sports, basketball, soccer fields. And there's also going to be a tunnel that is being developed from this particular project all the way to the beach. So it means for 30 minutes walking, or if you're on a bicycle or on a scooter, 10 minutes, and you can actually get from this particular project to the beach without having to go through Tel Aviv. Now here they're selling, in the first phase, 2-room apartments and 3 rooms. So 1 bedroom and 2 bedrooms, 750 square feet, 100 square foot garden, 2 elevators, parking spots, and the asking price here is 3.395 million. And if you wanted that extra bedroom, it's give you 900 square feet, 140 square foot balcony, and the price is roughly 500,000 shekels more. It's a green development, which means all the buildings, on your floor, you've got chutes where you can throw your trash down, separated into wet goods, dry goods. They catch all of the air conditioning water they catch it into catchment basements, and they use that to water the gardens and to flush the toilets, etc., etc. So this is a very unique project. and they've got roughly 2,600 units that they're selling, and they're currently at 75% sales already. So this is a project that has taken Israel by storm, and something that's definitely interesting to look at as an investment property and as a vacation property.
Great. Okay, and now we're going to move over to Raanana, and then once we're done with Raanana, then we'll move over to mortgages and to the legal process.
Okay, so I think everybody knows somebody that lives in Raanana. Raanana was one of the major cities that new immigrants came to because of the English. We have South African, we have American, we have British, we have Australian families that are living here. I would say out of the 90,000 residents that we have in Raanana, about 40% of those come from Anglo-Saxon backgrounds. So definitely a much softer landing than going to places in the south, such as Beersheba, etc., where when you speak English, they might look at you as if you've come from another planet. Here we have a project that is in the northwest of Raanana. It's a 4-room apartment, 3 bedrooms, 930 square feet, 80 square meter balcony. It has 2 bathrooms. There's a master bedroom with a bathroom and then a large family bathroom as well. It has a regular parking spot, not the elevator parking spots, the mechanical ones. Elevator, this particular apartment, it's ready. They've completed the building. They're now just waiting for the final authorizations. So we're estimating that the tenants will be getting keys in 6 months. And this particular apartment can be purchased for $2,795,000. So that's an option of buying something off plan. Here, this was discussed a little bit earlier as well, is where you buy something old, you wait a year or two, and then you get something new. So this particular apartment is going through Tama. It's been renovated, the entire building. They're adding on a security room. They're adding on a balcony. There will be a covered parking spot. There will also be a storage room. And of course, the building will have an elevator. So what you're buying currently is the old apartment, 5 rooms, in other words, 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. When it's finished, it will be roughly 1,600 square feet. You'll have a 120 square foot balcony, an elevator, as I said, covered parking and storage room. This particular apartment is on the market for 3.295 million shekels, which is roughly, again, about $850,000. It'll be ready in roughly 2 years. They've already started the build. But when this apartment is ready, in other words, when you get the keys, similar apartments in the building next door are currently on the market for 4.5 to 4.8 million shekels.
Wow.
So you can see the inherent value of buying something old, having patience for 2 years, and then getting a new apartment. And the nice thing about this as well is that the developer is paying rent for every month that the apartment is unoccupied. So you're actually earning a little bit of income as well. So these opportunities do exist. Depending on your needs, this might be something that you're looking for. And then having something that's turnkey move-in ready. Here we have a 3-bedroom apartment, 2 bathrooms, roughly 1,200 square feet, 150 square foot balcony. It has an elevator. It also has a covered parking. And this particular apartment is on the market for also $3,295,000. So you can see the difference between the previous slide and this one. It's the same price, but the previous slide, for having 2 years patience, you're getting an extra 2 rooms, 2 bedrooms, and you're getting an extra 400 square feet. So those are the advantages and disadvantages of move-in ready and having to wait for development.
Great, thank you, Dion. Okay, Natan. Dan's works for Omega Mortgages and really specializes in helping both the Anglos as well as Olim get a mortgage. And there are a lot of options that are available that people aren't familiar with. So Natan, I'll hand it over to you to go through some of the details.
All right, sounds good. Thank you very much, Rafi. And really YeshaKoach to everybody here on this webinar. what I'm going to try and do is the impossible task of very, very, very briefly going through all the different parts of Israeli mortgages. But it's important to start off and understand that on a very fundamental level, a mortgage is a mortgage is a mortgage, right? You need the large amount of financing, and the bank is going to use your home as collateral. And that's how you're going to get it. You have monthly payments, you have income. A lot of the stuff is the same. So what I'm going to now try and touch on is what are some of the differences between a mortgage in the States and a mortgage in Israel. So I'm going to start off using the classic 30-year fixed rate mortgage, even though that's pretty unique to the US. And you can really tell that instead of just having a 30-year fixed rate mortgage, here in Israel, you can have a variable rate that varies on a monthly basis, varies every 12 months, basically a year, 2 years, 2.5 years, 5 years, 7 years. You have a lot of options when it comes to varying rate mortgages. Not only that, you can actually index the money in your mortgage to Israeli CPI or inflation. That obviously means that you're going to get lower interest rates, but at the same time, you're also going to have it indexed to inflation. There are pluses, there are minuses, and there's really a time and place for everything. For example, one of the OLED benefits is to get a government subsidized loan where the rate is fixed, but the money within the loan is indexed to inflation. Another big difference is you can really change it up. You don't have to just stick with a 30-year mortgage. You can get up to a 30-year mortgage, but you can also get a 20-year mortgage, a 25-year mortgage, a 23-year mortgage, a 17-year mortgage. You can choose your duration on a yearly basis. And you can even decide to denominate your mortgage in dollars or euros if, for example, you're working in the US or in Europe and you want it to stay pretty similar to what your income looks like. And finally, all these options don't stand alone. You can mix and match between them to really tailor your mortgage to something that fits your specific needs. So if we move on to the next slide, another one of the big differences is in what's known as LTV or loan to value. Now, basically what loan to value means is, let's say you're buying at $1 million and you're getting 60% financing or 60% loan to value. That means that the bank is basically going to give you a mortgage for $600,000 and you have to come up with a difference of a down payment of $400,000, right? So following that same logic, 45% LTV means, for example, $450,000, you'd have to come up with the $550,000. Here in Israel, if you're a citizen, you can get up to 75% financing, which means a 25% down payment. Obviously, don't forget all the other costs that are involved. But if you're not a citizen, then you can only get up to 50% financing. Keep in mind that sometimes, within a specific household, one spouse will be an Israeli citizen and the other one will not. And then you can just average it out to 62.5%. Even if you're an Israeli citizen from multiple properties onward, from a bank, you're only able to get 50%. And the reason that I stress from a bank is that there are lots of options out there for up to 85, even up to 90% financing, where you can, be it as an Israeli citizen, even if you're not an Israeli citizen, get a larger amount of financing. Those are for very specific niche cases, but those options do exist, and it's worth not throwing those immediately out the window. If we move on to the next slide, something that's really familiar to anybody who's really been interested in taking out a mortgage or has already taken out a mortgage before is you need to have provable income. So what we look at here in Israel is we look at your net income, that means after taxes, and we also have to subtract your gross expenses. So if you have any outstanding loans, any previous mortgages, any type of monthly payment that shows up on your bank statements on a monthly basis, that counts as an expense, and you have to obviously subtract that and then take your around 1/3. With some banks it's 34%, some banks it's 39%, and you can obviously get different approvals here and there depending on the situation, sometimes even up to 40%, sometimes past that. Every case really needs to be done on a case-by-case basis, but those options also do exist in terms of how to evaluate your income and what you're able to do in terms of a monthly payment. So that really touches on the income, but if you kind of zoom out for a little bit, it's important to understand that before you get into the details, you really need to frame your mortgage in terms of budgeting. And you need to look at two different aspects. The first aspect is how much are you going to take out for your mortgage? How much money do you actually need? You don't want to take out too much because you're paying interest rates on whatever it is that you take out, but you also don't want to take out too little because then you're going to find yourself backpedaling at the very last minute and trying to come up with extra financing. And obviously the second thing is that you really need to be budgeting for your monthly payments, right? Not just the principal in terms of how much money you're going to take out for your mortgage, but how much money you're going to be paying each month towards your mortgage. And because here in Israel, interest rates can change, that means that your monthly and also be indexed to Israeli inflation. That means that your monthly payments can change over time. And it's important to understand the relationship with how these things move, because as you move through life, your mortgage is going to accompany you and the monthly payments will also accompany you. So for both of those parameters, it's really important to understand that stability is a very, very, very smart way to approach it. You want to be efficient, you want to be smart about it, but you also want to make sure that you leave yourself room to maneuver in case life throws curveballs. Moving on to the next slide, the way that we kind of deal through this, and I'll just pop through this slide and the next slide as well, Rafi, is we run simulations based on what historically primates have been. We run our simulations obviously based on what the Bank of Israel forecast. And when you do the risk management, you really use both of those, combine them together, come up with something that is at the same time smart and efficient, and like I mentioned, stable as well. Moving on to the next slide, I just want to talk about some outliers, right? I mentioned up to 75% financing, for example, and then I kind of parenthetically brought up 85, 90% LTV. There are non-banking lenders. They give incredible amounts of financing. They're a bit different in terms of how the mortgage is structured and obviously how that then plays out, especially if you're used to a fixed rate mortgage. You can get a business mortgage, even with a foreign LLC. I did see somebody mentioned in one of the questions in the Q&A section, can I do it with American income? Not only that, but your US LLC can purchase a property here in Israel. There are quite a few options for retirees, both through banks and through insurance companies known as pensioners mortgage and or reverse mortgages. And by and large, what I want you guys to take away is that because there are so many options, it really pays to ask. Don't just assume that it's not possible or you heard that it's difficult and therefore you're going to kind of give up on it. There's no harm in asking. We have all of our contact information. And one of the most amazing things about this webinar is that we're really here for you to answer your questions and to be there for you. So I'm just going to wrap it up as we move on to the next slide. When do you reach out? Before you start shopping. You don't want to go shopping. You don't want to spend all that time, the back and forth, and then realize that what you're looking for isn't exactly within your budget. And once you have your budget, you'll know exactly what it is that you should be finding. Do I do mortgages all over Israel? I do mortgages even if you're from outside of Israel. And probably most importantly, and Rafi did mention this, we really try and put an emphasis on a one-on-one approach and really helping you with your personal story, your personal background, and your personal finances. So feel free to ask Rafi to put us in touch, and I will do my best to assist you.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much,
Rafi, for the opportunity. And,
appreciate it.
Back to you.
Yeah. Okay. Avram Levinsky from Levinsky Law Firm is going to talk to you about the legal aspects of buying a house.
Thank you, Rafi. Do you hear me?
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Natan, for the previous lecture. It was interesting. And firstly, I wanted to tell to all of you that I really, really appreciate that you are here. And I really wanted to thank you. I know the most easy thing is, to stay at home and not to try to look for those kind of information, not to come, but you choose to come and to attend the webinar. And you didn't act, you are active now, you did something. So I really appreciate that. And all of us really appreciate that. This is really important. Also, by the way, how much are we? 95 people. So it's really, really exciting. And yeah, let's start. So I will introduce myself. My name is Avram Levinsky. I'm the founder, the owner of Avram Levinsky Law Firm. We deal only with overseas investors, and we do around 100 transactions a year. So we will be happy only for overseas investors. So I'll be happy to help you as well, and I will try to give you some interesting points on the next 5 minutes that I have. And the first topic I wanted to talk to you is to explain a bit about the two types of purchasing in Israel. Type number one is first-hand purchase. This is when you buy from a contractor. You just can go to a big company, just like Electra, Africa Israel, whatever company, big companies, and also small. But this is type number one of purchasing in Israel. The second option to purchase is to purchase from second-hand. It's meant to purchase in the free market and to go to another private person just to do a negotiation and to buy. So I guess it's not something unique. In every system, you have contractors and you have private people, and you can choose which option is better for you. And now I'm going to give you some tips and some interesting points about those options. So we'll start with advantages of the first-hand purchase. So we have four advantages for the first-hand purchase, and I'm in the first line. Advantages for the first-hand purchase. The first advantage is it is easy and smooth to buy from a contractor. Mainly, you do not need to deal with a private person that has his own thought and his own emotions. It's much more easy. You have a company. These are this is the policy of the company. This is how the company deals. It's more easy, more smooth. The second thing, bank guarantee. We do not have a lot of time, but I will say it in a sentence. Remember that when you buy from a contractor, not in all cases, but in 95% from the cases, you get a bank guarantee, which is promising your money, and your money is promising if in case the contractor will be collapsing and bankrupting, you will not have a property, but the money is 100%, should be 100% promised. Okay, I want you to remember that as well. The four disadvantages. The fourth advantage, is the warranty. A contractor needs to supply with a warranty. That means if there will be a leak, if there will be any problem with the electricity, with the walls, the contractor will be fixing this problem. And the fourth advantage is that in terms of the financial liquidity, you can in many cases you can give 20% and wait another 2, 3, 4 years and give another 80% when the property is ready. So if you know that currently you do not have the whole amount, or you don't want to go into a loan or bond, so you can just give the 20%. And then this is really, really important. This is really a huge advantage in terms of the cash, the liquidity. The disadvantages in buying from first-hand are mainly three, which I can think about. Number one, the index. Again, I'm not going to explain it deeply, but just to understand index, that means that the price is not fixed. That means that the price is linked to the inflation. Okay, need to be discussed more deeply. The second disadvantage is that there is no rent in the time of the construction. That means you gave the 20%, but you do not get any rent in return. The third one that there is no a big room, I would say, for negotiation. You still deal with a company. The company will not change her policy, and it's more difficult to change things, etc. Now I wanted to speak about the second-hand purchase. The advantages. So there are mainly four advantages. Number one, more supply. Before Ari, I think, spoke about Jerusalem. So Jerusalem, for example, in many neighborhoods, there are no first-hand properties. You will not find in Baka, in Katamon, not a lot. And the supply for the second-hand is all over Israel, also in Katamon, in Baka, places that built, when the British man that been here, you will find second-hand. You will not find first-hand a lot, but you will find the second-hand. So there's more supply. Second, there's more room for negotiation. You deal with a person, I see this in my eyes. People now are also reducing 100K, 200K because this is the market, So you can definitely get better negotiation, and there is no more place for negotiation. And there is also more. What I would say that you can find more things that are more fit for you, okay? Because there is more supply, you can find in more places. You want this shul, you want to be next to that neighborhood. So this is also an advantage. And for sure, the main advantage is that the fix is price, okay? There's no index in second-hand purchase. The price is completely fixed. The disadvantages are you buy as is, no warranty. If so, there will be problems. speaking generally speaking, no one will fix it for you. Second, you will need to take the loan fast, so you do not have this liquidity option to play with your money for a few years. You need to take the loan quite fast to close the transaction. And in second hand, there is less collateral, I would say. It's still 100% safe, but in some way, the collateral is not as strong as a bank guarantee. Still very, very safe for sure. Yeah, Rafi, thanks. You can move to the next one. I will speak with you a minute about attacks in the process. So firstly, just to explain, to know the terms, there are two main kinds of tax. Number one, purchase tax, when you buy a property. Second, called land betterment tax, when you sell a property. I mean, the second line. If you are Israeli resident, I know you all not, but I want you to understand, if you are Israeli residents, then you have two options. Option number one, you have no properties, you get a very good discount for the purchase tax. I'm not going into the numbers, but this is option number one for Israeli residents. Option number two for Israeli residents, you already have a property, this is the second property, that means this is an investment for you, you paid 8%, okay? That's the options for Israeli resident. I'm in the third line. If you are not Israeli residents, like all of the 93 people that are still here, even though it's a long webinar, you're still all of you here. So if you're not an Israeli resident, you pay 8%, okay, as a general rule, okay? 8% because it's considered to be like a second property for you, like an investment. Now, if you are a new Ole, I mean the full line, you will be able to get a discount, very good discount. Again, I do not want to go in exactly the numbers. There are several conditions for that, and I would be more than happy to answer to you privately what date exactly you need to come, when you need to come. You can, in 2 minutes, you will see my WhatsApp number. Feel free, even though now is in the evening here, send me messages. I will maybe answer you only tomorrow morning, or we will see, but tell me, because I will guide you what dates you need to come here, when you need to sign the contract, when you need to do the Aliyah, but there is an option which I want you to remember. Okay, that's all. Rafi, you can move to the next slide. I want to tell you in 45 seconds, I guess, what the lawyer needs to do in addition to the contract, in addition to the tax, in addition to the many other things that he needs to do. What does he need to do in terms of the due diligence? Okay, so he needs to do two things. Firstly, you need to do due diligence of the property. What does it mean, due diligence of the property? The lawyer needs to check that there are no liens, no mortgages, no foreclosures, anything. You need to check. Sorry, need to check the extract. Need to see that the deeds are good. Need to tell you, guys, property is good. You can buy. You know the property. The second thing that the lawyer needs to do is to do a vast due diligence of the seller. The lawyer needs to check the debts. You know that the seller itself has no debts, has no creditors, that he's not bankrupting. You know that he is a safe guy, and to feel, you know, and to try to, you know, after many transactions, I can already see and tell you if the person is reliable or not. Okay, so this is really, really important. Okay, now it's really important to me to give you, in Hebrew we say tzeidah laderech, something that you will take with you, okay? Right, so I think number one, do not forget to have money in Israel before you sign the contract, okay? If not, you will be breaching the contract, remember that. Number two, make sure you have a pre-approval, better with Natan for sure, because then you will have the certainty that you have the money ready for you. And if you will not have the mortgage, this is your problem. It's not the problem of the transaction, and this is not the problem of the seller. This is your problem, and you will be breaching the contract. The third one, make sure you have a lawyer in Israel that will be able to check all of those things and will be also expert in overseas investors and clients. Rafi, you can move to the next slides, please. Here are my contact information. Please feel free to contact me, not in the day you find the property, but before, because I'm telling you, there's no early time to talk to me. It's really, really important. And I wish you all atzlacha, and thank you all. And also thanks for sure to Olim Advisor to host this event. Toda.
Thank you very much, Avram. Okay, now we're going to go to the last topic, and then we're going to get to the questions. I know that we're running short on time, but we'll definitely stay on a little longer to get to people's questions. So the last topic is talking about transferring money. Unfortunately, Eytan Bennett, who works for IsraTransfer, got sick over Shabbat and is not able to attend it. So I just said I'd cover some of the key points for him and just a little bit of information. And then he really asked me to invite you to reach out to him. I'll give you his contact information, and he apologizes for not being here. So IsraTransfer is a company that's founded back in 2008. I actually know them. We use them for on a personal basis, as well as we refer our clients to them. And really, they the three benefits that they bring to the table. One is that they're regulated. The second one is that their fees are much lower than the banks. And the third thing is that they really pride themselves on customer service. And so just I know one of the main questions that people have is, what are the options to transfer money? And there are really three options that I'll go through quickly. The first one is bank to bank. So if you have a bank in the US, UK, South Africa, you can transfer money to your bank here in Israel. That that tends to be people prefer that because it's two regulated banks, and so for some people that's the best way of doing it. The fees tend to be higher with banks, so it is something that you need to keep in mind. The other option are exchange or money changers. These are usually local businesses where you can transfer money to them. They most times are not regulated, so you just want to make sure that you know who you're dealing with, and their fees, while they tend to be lower than the banks, are still higher than the third option. And the third option is really the option that I use and I recommend, which are transfer agencies like IsraTransfer, because in essence, you get the best of both worlds. You have companies that are regulated. You also get fees that are much lower. And so this is something that is one of the main reasons why IsraTransfer deals with so many transactions, so many clients over the years, because throughout the year, because people are looking for, the customer service, for the security, as well as for the lower fees. And I'll just share with you here. I've included the slides here, so when you send out the recording, you'll see the information, but this is Eytan's contact information. And again, he apologized for not being here and would love to speak to you. So we're going to move on now to the questions. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen here. I just want to get the questions set up. And while I do that, I'm just going to put up a survey again for those of you who weren't able to answer the survey at the beginning. We want to get a sense of what you're interested in. So I'm just going to put up the survey here for a moment. If you can just take a moment to answer the questions, and then I'm going to start going through the questions and we're going to answer them. So if you didn't answer the survey beforehand, if you can just take a minute and do it now, and then we'll start going through the questions here. Okay, we'll give everyone a moment chance to just answer it. Okay, great. So I'm going to go ahead and end the poll now. Thank you very much. 1 second. Okay, so let's go through some questions. I'm just going to go to the top and we'll run through as many as we can. Just a question here about Aliyah and the challenges. And it is challenging, and there are a number of hoops that you have to jump through. But what I can assure you is, if you have your documents, if you have everything in order, it definitely is doable. We can definitely guide you through the process and help you with it. But in essence, Israel says that they want to make sure that people that make Aliyah are eligible to do that. Let's see, whatever. So there's a question here about health insurance, and just to cover quickly, if you make Aliyah, then you get health insurance from day one. If you come here and you don't, you're not making Aliyah right away, then there's a 6 month wait. You can get private health insurance, which will cover you. So that is something to be aware of. There are a few questions about the recording, and yes, we will send out a recording within the next couple of days. So you will have that as well. There's a few questions here about the conversion rate. So we're using approximately 3.6 to the dollar, 3.6 shekel to the dollar. So you can just use that. Yeah, there's a question, and I'll just throw it to any of the realtors. The question about furnishing a brand new apartment. And of course, there's a very wide range, but if somebody buys an empty apartment, can you just give some sort of range, just give people an idea of what we're talking about here?
I'll just say that we roughly tell our clients to budget double whatever they would be spending in the States. Whatever it would cost them to furnish their house in America, take double, and that's what it will cost you here. Okay,
great. What about the monthly maintenance costs? There's in essence two. There's Arnona and there's the Beit. Dion, can you talk about that? I know it varies from city to city, but if you can just talk about that for a moment.
Sure. So obviously, each city applies different laws, different ways of calculating your rates and taxes. Just to give you an example, in Herzliya, which is next door to Raanana, whatever the final government measurement is of an apartment is what you will be paying your rates and taxes on. In Raanana, what they do is they take the net size of the apartment, and then they take the common space, which is your passageways, your lobby, your trash room, etc., etc. They add all of that up, and then they divide it by the amount of apartments, and they add on that extra value to your net space. So they charge you a little bit more. So it really just depends on the city. But to give you an example of Raanana, a 100 square meter apartment, you'll be paying roughly 1,200 shekels every 2 months. So that's 600 shekels. Older buildings, you're probably looking at about 300 shekels a month for your building maintenance. But newer buildings with 1 or 2 elevators, etc., can go up as high as 600 shekels every month. So I generally tell people in the center area, add on an extra 1,000 shekels a month to 1,300 shekels a month to cover your utilities.
And also to keep in mind, if you're renting out your apartment, very often the renter will be the one that's paying the Arnona, which is municipal taxes, as well as the Beit, the building. So, just something to be aware of. Natan, there's a question here about penalties in Israel for prepaying mortgages. Can you talk just briefly about that?
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of give the official term, which is called yield maintenance. Basically, what the bank does is it calculates what the difference in interest rates will be. So if you take out an interest rate at 5% and you decide to pay some of the money back when interest rates are at 2.5%, then you take the difference, which is also 2.5%, and you multiply that out by the remaining principal and by the duration. So if you have a fixed rate mortgage, then you know what the duration is. If it's a variable rate mortgage, let's say it varies on a monthly basis, you're only multiplying it out until the end of the month. Sometimes that can be, just a few weeks, maybe even just a few days. So the prepayment penalty does exist. Sometimes it's negligible. Sometimes it's a very big deal. It's a really, really wide range, which is kind of hard to wrap your head around if you're not used to it. And I guess if you have any further questions about the prepayment penalty, then you can reach out.
Okay. And Ariyel, there's a question here about paying, paying cash. That's something that is done, fairly regularly. So can you just talk a little bit about that, if, from your experience?
Paying cash for
an apartment. So if somebody doesn't want to take out a mortgage, they just want to pay in cash. That's something that is actually an advantage, right? If you're looking to negotiate and there's a buyer that can pay cash versus somebody that needs a mortgage, maybe talk about that for a moment.
I think it's really a question for Avram, but I'll give you my perspective. You can't really pay cash, right? Especially since it's an international transfer. You have to prove where the money comes from. It has to go through banks. There's all bureaucracy on that, and your lawyer will take care of that. It's a negotiating point in the fact that it might be quick. You might be able to pay for the apartment faster than if you had to go through a mortgage. So you could come up with all the money within 2 months, which is a good negotiating point, but it doesn't really affect the price.
Understood. Avram, are there any other issues from a legal point of view? Somebody does not want to take a mortgage and they just want to buy it out in cash?
No, I mean, Ari, make it correct. I think I don't have anything to add, I would say.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Then I saw a question here about spending 400,000 for an apartment in the center, and there definitely are cities, there definitely are apartments, smaller apartments, and what we focus on today really are the cities where there's large Anglo populations, and therefore there's more of a demand, and the prices tend to be higher. But there's a lot of wonderful cities that are the prices are lower, and you can get something. $400,000 is about 1.4 million shekel, and they're definitely apartments that you can get in the center of Israel as well as north and south. So just reach out to us. We can kind of point you in the right direction and introduce you to realtors in those sections as well, in those areas. There's a question here about real estate in Modi'in, and Modi'in has become one of the more expensive cities. It has a lot it has a lot of benefits of living there, but it has become more expensive. But again, it depends on what you're looking for, and so we can definitely connect you with a realtor who specializes in Modi'in. They can talk to you about there's a lot of building, a lot of construction in Modi'in, and so we can definitely introduce you there. Then there's a question here about 2-bedroom apartments in Achziv. I don't believe the new apartments are 2 bedrooms, but there might be secondhand apartments that are selling right now that are 2 bedrooms. So reach out to me. I can look into it for you. We work with a realtor there, also covers Achziv, and they deal with the secondhand sales. So we can look into that. Okay, let's see. And then there's a question here, I guess, about taking advantage of doing a mortgage versus cash. And so maybe Natan, if you want to just briefly talk about that, I think that'd be great.
Yeah, so generally there are 2 definitive advantages to financing and taking on leverage. Obviously, it needs to be done after taking the full picture into account. But number one, you can buy a larger place that may be more suitable for your needs if you're going to take financing, as opposed to just paying whatever you have in cash. And the second thing is, it really depends. Everybody has their own background story. But if you're looking to invest and maximize, then mortgages are by and large the cheapest loans out on the market, because the collateral is such a safe collateral. It's a home. And so if you're looking either as an investor, or maybe you have your own business and putting the money into your business instead, already you can see that my mind's going a million one different directions. But if there's some vehicle, avenue, or way that you can make better use of your money, then it's almost a shame not to leverage and take advantage of housing rates and take out a mortgage.
Great, thank you. So thank you everyone for joining us tonight. Thank you to Ariyel, to you, Dion, Natan, Abraham. Thank you all for joining us and sharing your insight, and thank you all for attending. We hope to see you in the future. We plan on doing many more webinars. Reach out to us, and we look forward to speaking to all of you. So have a great week. Shavua Tov, and be well. Take care.
Thank you, Rafi. Shavua Tov.